Complete. We're going to head back up to the commentary box, and Andy will give you the very, very large grid for the Mini 7s and Mini Miglias. Over to you, Andy.
Thank you, Richard. Yeah, plenty of cars to get through here on the grid for our second Dunlop National Mini Challenge, supported by Mini Spares 7 and Miglia Championships. A very long championship name for a very long grid, and it is headed by Mark Sims, because we have, by the looks of it, a partially reversed grid. So Mark Sims on pole position, Aaron Smith will line up alongside him. Row number 2 then for Rupert Deeth and Ben Colburn, with Kane Aston and Andrew Jordan on row number 3. Nick Padmore and Jeff Smith on row 4. Jeff was the victor yesterday, so it's the top 8 who were reversed on the grid for this one. Phil Bullen Brown was 9th, and that is where he will start for the second race of the day, with James Cuthbertson completing the top 10. Tony LeMay and Dan Wheeler together on row number 6. Big grid of nearly 30 cars in the Miglias, even more I think within the 7's portion of the grid. Nick Paddy and Lee Roberts will share row 7 ahead of Sean King and Larry Wall on row number 8. Row 9 is where you will find Thorburn Aston and Gareth Baldwin. Again, all of these running within the Miglia class. There are 4 classes, 2 within the Miglias and 2 within the 7s. That in a moment or two once we start getting to some of the cars running in the other classes, the Libra class within the Miglias. Ashley Davies and Ben Butler completing the top 20, and Johnny Kent and Colin Peacock, who had an early spin, seemed to be making some good progress, but then slipped back outside of the top 20 by the end. Then Rob Howard. The first of the Libras is Julian Proctor, and Les Stanton second place in that class, and it was Richard Colburn who was the winner with the Libras yesterday. Bill Harvey together on the 13th row with Les Stanton, then Peter Hills and Richard Colburn. So again, a reversal by the looks of it of the Libra grid. Damien Harrington and Graham Davis completing the top 30 of the grid, and we're only about halfway through as the cars have all now started their green flag lap. Row 16 for Jordan Sims and Darren Thomas, Ross Billison and Joe Thompson together on the 17th row, 18th row for Spencer Wanstall and Mike Jordan. So Mike Jordan was the winner in the 7s. Of course, we're into the 7s grid now. Mike Jordan will have a bit of work to do this time, though, to try and get the double, father of Andrew Jordan, of course, who will be aiming for a victory in the Miglias. Tina Cooper and Paul Woodbridge together on row 19 in the top 40, rounded out by Jamie Payne and Joe Polly. Conor O'Brien was next, 41st on the grid, ahead of Tom Mills, starting 42nd. And again, these are all Mini 7 class cars, so too is Glenn Woodbridge. But then you get to Jack Vanner, who is the first of the 7S class cars. And again, they have a reversed grid, all 7 of the finishes reversed. So Jack Vanner starting ahead of Dave Rees and Andrew Hack, with Chris Pryor and Jonathan Page together on row number 24. Jonathan Page was 3rd in the S-Class yesterday. Fraser Hack was 2nd, and Matthew Ayres took the class victory, so they start on the 25th row of the grid together. Then Nigel Fraser-Kerr is next, followed by Kieran Edgecombe. We're getting into now those who were non-finishers yesterday from the 7s. Lee Poolman and Mal Dickinson also failed to get to the end. And then on the 28th row of the grid, we may be missing a couple of these as well. In fact, that is all we appear to have on the grid. So we've had a few withdrawals, it would seem, overnight. And so just the 54 of them who will be taking the start. So cars then heading around the damp Grand Prix circuit. We just saw from that MX-5 Championship race that grip levels are at a bit of a premium out there. Starting to dry, isn't it, at certain parts of the track, but it was bone dry for these cars yesterday. And of course the Miglias run on slick tyres in the dry. Be intrigued to know if anyone's taken that gamble today. I doubt it. I think it's probably still a little bit too wet, but if you do see massive pace differentials between some of the Miglias, that would probably explain it. So this is always a tricky situation for drivers, especially if the last time they were out on track was in the dry. Had the damp qualifying yesterday, but the dry conditions for race 1 very, very different in feel to what they've got for this second race, and it's not fully wet either. It's greasy, which means the grip levels are even worse. It seems the tyres can't cut through the surface water because there isn't really enough there for it to cut through. The tread starts to move around as the tyres overheat later on in the race as well, so only a 20-minute race, but still difficult for the drivers to manage the tyres. The 7s run on treaded tyres anyway, so they in a way have less to think about. They will be setup changes that need to be made, of course, but at least they're not worrying too much about tyre choices. The village sequence of corners they go. You can see there the first of the Mini 7s coming through. So yesterday's race in the 7s won by Mike Jordan. The class winners yesterday, Jeff Smith won in the Miglias. The Libras won by Richard Coleman. The 7s by Mike Jordan. The 7Ss by Matthew Ayres. Interested to see whether we get the same group of drivers at the front again in this one. The Miglias was a very close race until the last lap, really, when Jeff Smith, through traffic, managed to distance himself from the chasing pack. But for the majority of the 20-minute race, Jeff Smith, Nick Padmore, Andrew Jordan, Kane Astin, Ben Colburn, Rupert Deeth and Aaron Smith, the leading 7, were all chopping and changing positions pretty frequently. And as I said, it was only that final lap as they came across some of the slower traffic that Jeff Smith was able to get himself a little bit of breathing room, pull away from the pack behind. He could do the same again, but of course to do that he's going to have to come through from the fourth row of the grid. Simpson Smith on the front row. Aaron Smith was a bit of an enigma yesterday. Never seemed to have quite the pace that we've seen from him in the past. He was in the lead group, but struggled to make much progress through it. Every time he did move forward, he then seemed to lose a place, whereas Kane Astin did come on strong towards the end of the race. He had been sort of sat at the back of the lead train for the bulk of it, but then started to make some forward progress to eventually finishing fourth, just behind former British Touring Car champion Andrew Jordan. Right, third on the grid for second and final race, just the 2 races for the Minis here at Silverstone. Great to have them on board though. One car just heading for the pit lane. That was the 71, I think, that was coming past my commentary position. Larry Waugh, one of the 7s, with a problem before the race even gets started, unfortunately. So there will be one gap on the grid. Where was he supposed to be starting? 16th on the grid was where Larry was due to take off from. Pit lane, if I can see him in the distance there, with the team gathering round to try and assess what the problem is. The rest of them, though, pulling into position. This takes a little while to do. There is a gap as well in the grid between the Miglias and the 7s, and the Miglias will leave the grid about 10 seconds before the 7s do. So don't panic when only half of the cars launch off the line when the red lights go out. Padmore, as he was yesterday, taking this opportunity to get a little bit of cool air into the car. Door open there as he sits on the 4th row of the grid. But Nick Padmore had a really good start yesterday. Started yesterday's race 3rd and was in the lead, I seem to recall, going into the first corner. Struggled to do the same thing from 7th, but he's certainly one to watch for moving forward. Any one of those top 7 or 8 drivers, though, I think genuinely have a shot at the race victory in the Miglias. 5-second board then is shown. 20 minutes on the clock for our second Dunlop Mini Challenges, supported by Mini Spares 7 and Miglia Championship race. The Miglias launch off the line now. Well, one car doesn't, though. There is a staller further back in the pack. Let's hope they all miss him. Oh, just about. That was some quick reactions, and of course the 7s will have to be careful now because their race is due to get underway momentarily, and there is a car stationary in the middle of the road. I'll have to wait and see whether they can delay that start for a period of time. It sounds like they have. Yes, they have. See, this is the problem. They can't start the second group of cars because, well, the checkered flag is being readied and they are going to start the race. Okay, hold your breath, everybody. Yellow flags are out, of course. The drivers should all be able to see that, but I'm not convinced that this is going to end well when we all get round him. Yes, they do just about, but that was a little bit touch and go. The 7s then, thankfully, cleanly get underway, and everybody else, the marshals now, will run out onto the track to very quickly get that stricken car out of harm's way. So the 7's then out of Copse Corner, down at Stowe Corner. Andrew Jordan appears to maybe have the lead in the Miglias, but I think he was losing it, the lead that is, as they went out of shot. Not a lot of progress made by the likes of Nick Padmore, it seems. Get a proper look at it in a moment or two, though, as they drop down into the Vale. Flashing of the lights there for Kane Astin as he tries to get up the inside of Rupert Deeth. Padmore is the white, blue and green car behind. And they tippy-toe their way through the left-hander, Jeff Smith, the red number 46 car. 86 is Nick Paddy. Got the inside of both of them, actually. Paddy getting past Jeff Smith and has a go at Nick Padmore as they go through the second part of Club Corner, but Padmore with the momentum on the outside line is going to hang on. Now here comes Mike Jordan up the inside into Stowe Corner, already making some progress. That's Graham Davis that he was going past on the run through the end of the hanger straight. And that, I think, might put Jeff Smith into second or third within the sevens now. Se7en Andrew making progress. There's a spin there going through Stowe Corner, and that car was heading back towards the middle of the road, I think. So let's see. Hopefully they're all. 721 was one of the cars involved. That was Kieran Edgecombe, who was a non-finisher yesterday. I seem to remember he stopped down at Stowe as well. That's actually earlier in the corner, though, so it was something on the left-hand side that was perhaps of more concern. Double-waved yellows out regardless at Stowe Corner, as the 7 battle goes 3 abreast into Abbey Corner. Mike Jordan defending that second place just about. That was the 6 of Davis up the inside. Number 73, Spencer Wanstall, who was second in the 7s yesterday, running 4th at the moment as they head towards Village. The Miglias, though, out of Luffield. It is Andrew Jordan who leads the way, and Aaron Smith right behind him in second position. These two already making a bit of a break from the rest of the field as they head out of Woodcote Corner. They cross the line. Thankfully, the stricken car is now off the track. Whether it's not going again or has been pulled into the pit lane, I'm not so sure. But the track is clear and the race can continue unimpeded. And Aaron Smith looking to try and get back around Andrew Jordan. Ben Coleman third, Sims fourth from pole position, then Rupert Death in fifth, Kane Aston sixth, Jeff Smith seventh, and Nick Padmore in eighth position. Nick Paddy is then ninth, and the top 10 completed by number 89, Sean King, who started 15th on the grid and has gained a few spots. Through Maggots and Beckett's goes the leading battle. They really have distanced themselves, haven't they? 2 seconds ahead of Ben Coleman, who was 5th in yesterday's race. The 7's coming out of Luffield Corner. Mike Jordan is the leader. So he has now worked his way right through to the front of the pack. The number 88 car. The 126 is off. Might be Cobb's Corner, I think, for Peter Hills, who's one of the last of the Miglias through. He's going to be caught, I think, pretty quickly by the 7s, who now go through Cobb's Corner side by side. And Mike Jordan, having got the lead away from the number 49 car, now in danger of losing it once more. That's Ross Billison, who was 4th in yesterday's race. And wants to try and get back ahead of Mike, but as they battle, Spencer Wanstall is getting closer to them. So 3 for the lead again in the Mini 7s, and Billison getting onto the painted curb there through Beckett's. The car getting loose, and again through the left-hander. Oh, but not as loose as Spencer Wanstall, who's on the grass and heading for the runoff area. Did he save it? Somehow he did. Brilliant car control for Spencer Wanstall, but the rear of the car just stepping away from him. He's not lifting off on the runoff area either, is he? Drops only 1 or 2 positions, and he's very lucky not to have found the barriers. So Spencer Wanstall with a heart-stopping moment through Beckett's. These short wheelbase front-wheel drive cars can be a bit snappy on cold tyres, especially if the track is wet. The Miglia is more than the 7s, really, but the 7 there of Spencer Wanstall was pretty even through Beckett's. In fairness, Rob Billison's car was just about to make the point, was looking a bit leery too. I think maybe loose might be fast in the Mini 7s, because Billison is really starting to ask some questions of Mike Jordan here. That 71 car, by the way, Larry Waugh, has been, started the race from the pit lane, but has just come back in again after the first lap. Meanwhile, Andrew Jordan and Aaron Smith ducking and diving for the race lead, and Aaron Smith gets up the inside through Luffield and goes through. Now, that was interesting. Found some traction on the inside line, but Jordan, having gone wide through the middle of the corner, has the better exit speed, gets back up the inside and reclaims the race lead. So that was a little bit different, wasn't it? It wasn't just a case of the outside line being grippier. To almost change halfway through the corner. Aaron Smith back up the inside now into the first corner. Aaron set the fastest lap that time around, fractionally. And they're both lapping quicker than those behind by quite some way. In fact, these two are in the 42s. No one else can get anywhere near them. I wonder if these two are on wet tyres and the others are still on slicks, because that is quite a big time difference. 2:42s for the leaders, 2:45s then for Coleman and Sims, and then Aaron Smith with a 2:48. The others are in the 2:50s. So, big slide for Smith. There's a lot of dirt on the road there. That is the 714 car off as well, Chris Pryor. But I wonder if there is some tyre strategy going on here. As I said, the Miglias do have the option to run a slick tyre if they want. And I suspect that perhaps some of those further back are on the slicks, some at the front maybe not. It's hard to tell when the cars are at speed. No doubt we will find out in their post-race interviews, but there is something very different with these two cars compared to those cars behind who just can't keep up. It is not very Mini Miglia-like, actually, having just the two cars trading the race lead. And of course, if we do get a return of the rain before the race ends, then that will further play into these drivers' hands, because whether it's a tyre advantage or whether it's a setup advantage, it doesn't matter. Clearly, Andrew Jordan and Aaron Smith are happier in the wet conditions. So up through Copse Corner comes the 7 battle. Ross Billison is back behind Spencer Wanstall. There was a car stationary, was there, on the apex at Copse? That was a precarious place to be parked. Hopefully they got going. It was a pale blue car, and I didn't see a pale blue car reappearing on corner exit. Change there for what will be 4th in the class, and that was the 758 car. So actually that's not a change for class position, because that's the S-class car of Matthew Ayres coming through. Another car in the pit lane, that was car number 2 of Darren Thomas coming in with a penalty, just seen out of the window. But the fight for podium places within the 7s, it's more for second now really than for the race lead, with Spencer Wanstall back into P2. Massive moment at Beckett's a lap ago. You go after Jeff Smith though, didn't quite have the pace to stick with Jeff yesterday. Margin eventually between the two of them was 1.6 seconds by the flag. In fact, almost identical gap between the top two 7s as it was between Jeff Smith and Nick Padmore for the Miglia victory. Speaking of the Miglia victory, looking more and more likely to go to one of these two, isn't it? 12 minutes still to go. Andrew Jordan and Aaron Smith well out in front of the pack. Another car has got around. This is down at Club, and that might be the 113 car potentially. Whatever it is, they're selecting first gear and getting going once again. 113 would have been Philip Harvey, which is one of the Libra class Miglias, and I think that's what that car looked like. Out wide through Copse goes Andrew Jordan. Aaron Smith back up the inside again. And towards the Maggots Beckett sequence they go, and Jordan just a little bit more commitment there on the inside line through the left-hander. Bends off the 21 car. Onto the Anger straight again. The lap times continuing to look very, very good for these two. It was a 42.3 for Jordan, a 42.4 for Smith, 44.8 for Coleman, which was a personal best, but was still 2.5 seconds slower than them. And no one else, I mean, 4th place man, Sims, is 8 seconds a lap slower than the race leaders. In fact, he's was 4 seconds slower that time than the 46 car of Jeff Smith behind. We've got a recovery vehicle recovering the car on the exit of Stowe Corner. But massive gaps in Mini Miglia racing terms between the front-running cars, not between the top two, obviously, but everyone else pretty well spread out as drivers seem capable of running very different lap times to each other. Oh, contact there between Jordan and Smith was there. If they didn't make contact, they got very close to it. Aaron Smith peeking up the inside of Andrew through the second part of Club Corner, which is a pretty common thing to see, but the car on the outside needs to leave room for the car on the inside, and the car on the inside needs to make sure they don't understeer into the car on the outside. 725 Fraser Hack is off the road. That looks like mechanical, because I think that's on the exit of the loop, which would be a strange place to spin in one of these cars. So I presume that car is pulled off with some sort of technical issue. The 7 leading trio making their way through Maggots and Beckett's though, and it is still a leading trio because Spencer Wanstall has not been shaken off by Mike Jordan this time, and he's keeping with him the number 80 car of Joe Thompson. The sequence of corners where it so nearly ended for Wanstall a few laps ago. And he's perhaps a little bit tentative through there. Look at the way he loses ground on the exit to Thompson, who isn't quite able to get fully alongside. Will slip in the slipstream now, but there's a yellow flag zone at the end of the back straight. And if that's there for much longer, that could start to play into the Miglia race a little bit, because if they start catching traffic into that yellow flag zone, they're not allowed to overtake the back markers, and that could really delay the quicker cars. You can see back markers playing their part in yesterday's race. No fault of their own, really. Shouldn't have yellow flags for much longer though, because you can see in the distance that the car has now been recovered to the international pit lane. As I mentioned yesterday, that's one of the benefits of the internal access roads at Silverstone, and the fact that we have 2 pit lanes at opposite ends of the track. So if the car can be recovered to the international paddock, it's easy enough to then get it back to the national paddock without having to neutralise the race. 113 car, incidentally, that had the stoppage at Vale. Phil Harvey has got going again, and they've just pulled into the pit lane. The number 6 car gets very, very sideways out of Club Corner. That was Graham Davis. Meanwhile, Colin Peacock, who we haven't seen a lot of beyond this spin yesterday, is up into 7th place. That's been a really, really good race, this, from Colin Peacock. He started 22nd, I seem to remember, or somewhere around there. Yes, he was 22nd on the grid for this race, yeah. And he has worked his way to 7th now, just ahead of Rupert Death. I think that might now be 8th because Nick Padmore is back ahead of him. So this is Padmore ahead of Aston, ahead of Peacock, ahead of Death. So that will be 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th that you're watching, heading down towards Stowe, where the yellow flags are back in. So side-by-side racing can resume, and Kane Aston goes to the outside of Nick Padmore, whilst Colin Peacock looks to the inside of Nick Padmore. Oh, Aston slides through. Can Peacock make the move on the inside line as well? Well, he gets ahead halfway round the corner, but then doesn't have the traction on corner exit. And so Nick Padmore will actually not only defend the place, but carries enough speed off the corner that he almost considered going up the inside of Aston, I think, into Club. Traffic now starting to appear on the track ahead of them, 2/3 of the way through the race, give or take. Andrew Jordan continues to lead Aaron Smith by next to nothing in the Miglia portion of the race. This group, I think, are likely to catch the number 20 car before the end of the race as well, of Mark Sims. Mark Sims started the lap in 4th position, but I'm pretty certain that Jeff Smith has gone past him on this lap, because Jeff's been lapping 6 seconds a lap quicker, was only half a second behind him at the start of the lap. Indeed, yes, you can see Jeff Smith is ahead of the green car now of Sims. And I think this group are going to catch him possibly by the end of the lap. Nick Padmore up the inside of Kane Aston, just didn't have any grip turning in on that inside line, and so Aston will hold on, but I don't think he realises quite how close he came to getting wiped out by the sideways number 56 car there. Whilst the resurgent Colin Peacock to try and gain more ground as well. Leaders back through to complete their 5th lap of racing. And Andrew Jordan, every time we get to the line, always seems to be ahead, but Aaron Smith is not being shaken off and proves the point there by setting a new fastest lap of the race. So 2:41.3 for Aaron. Moving around so much in the wet, and Andrew just drifted a bit wide over the exit curb there. Thought that might have caused a little bit of wheel spin, lost him some momentum off the turn, but that wasn't the case. So Aaron Smith has to follow him again through Maggots and Beckett, single file really through here. Jordan's car really sideways there as he turns through the left-hander. Can use that rotation to then flick the car into the next turn, but it's balancing on a real knife edge when you're doing that. Meanwhile, Joe Thompson has now gone to the lead of the Mini 7s. Look ahead of Spencer Wanstall with Mike Jordan down into 3rd position. So Jordan, who has led much of this race, as he did yesterday, struggling a little bit now as they go into the second half of it. Again, gets very sideways through Abbey Corner. Whilst the leading two are side by side. Mike's son Andrew really feeling the heat now from Aaron Smith, who is up the inside into Club. Through the left, gets to the corner first. That was a nice pass there, and in fairness, Andrew didn't fight it too much. He knows that he's got every opportunity to slipstream back past him at some point. They both nip up the inside of the 797 car of Jack Vanner, who was the pole sitter within the S class for this race. Classes, by the way, Miglia is obviously being led by Andrew Jordan, but Libra is being led by Coleman, and Coleman in 12th place overall, well clear of the rest of the Libra field. Mike Jordan, we've covered, was leading the 7s. It's now Joe Thompson, we know, who is out in front, which just leaves the S class, which I can tell you is being led by the 758 car of Matthew Ayres, who I seem to recall won the class yesterday from Fraser Hack, as he did. So, despite the reverse grids for this one, most of the front runners from yesterday getting their way to the front. The exception really being the Miglias. Okay, Andrew Jordan was on the podium yesterday, but the other two podium finishers, Jeff Smith and Nick Padmore, not able to make the progress that Andrew was on the grid. Abbey Corner then, Padmore there, looking to try and move forward. There goes the top 3 within the 7s, 4 minutes to go for them. Now they are at Copse Corner, whilst the leading Miglias are just now turning into Nuffield. So I don't think the front runners in the 7s will go a lap down. So they should get that extra lap in at the end, which is good news for Spencer Wanstall and Mike Jordan, because they need every lap to try and close in on race leader Joe Thompson, who's starting to gap them slightly. Cars slide their way out onto the Hanger Straight again. Traffic ahead, but yeah, Joe Thompson looking more and more comfortable now as we get into the latter portion of the race. Towards Stowe for the 6th time for the Sevens. Overall race leader just gone through onto their 7th lap. And for the first time, I think, all race there, the top two were not the fastest cars on the track. They were both slower than Coleman. And, well, they were slower than Coleman that lap. Jeff Smith also going quicker than them. They're too far back to catch the top two, but interesting to see that the pace is starting to drop off now as the top two start to do battle. Joe Thompson, by the way, I spoke way too soon about him gapping Monstall and Mike Jordan, because they've caught him already by the time they get through club. Traffic playing its part in that a little bit, but the slipstream as well, even from that distance back, the tow in these cars is so significant. You don't have to be that close to a car ahead to get an advantage. Oh, Colin Peacock. Colin Peacock, after a really good drive from 22nd to well inside the top 10, has pulled off at Copse Corner, I think that is. Showing as not having crossed the line that time as well, but he must have done if he got to Copse Corner, so maybe a transponder playing up too, but that is now the least of his worries. His car will pull off the track, but there will be yellows there probably until the end of the race. While Andrew Jordan and Aaron Smith continue to do battle and continue to trade the lead, because it was Aaron Smith who led at the start of the lap. It is now Andrew Jordan who is ahead as they head into Abbey Corner. They've got a lap and a half to go. The next one will be their final lap, and that really is the money lap, so to speak. That's when you will make your decisive move. So does Aaron Smith even want to be in the lead at this point is the question. Sometimes it's better to be second onto the last lap than it is to be first. Rob Howard, I can tell you, is the latest driver to make it into the pit lane. We had quite a few retirements yesterday, most of them mechanical issues, but thankfully today those who are having mechanical problems mostly seem to be able to get back to the pit lane under their own steam, so hopefully it won't take too long to clear the track after this second race of the weekend. Here comes Smith on the inside, so this answers my question. He does want the lead. He doesn't want to try and wait until the last lap to make the move. He goes on the inside into Brooklands Corner, and Andrew Jordan sits behind him now. Was that a sensible move from Aaron, though? Would it have been better to just stay with Jordan? We know that Smith has got the pace to stay with him, so probably could have just waited until that point on the final lap, but Aaron maybe feels actually that now he can pull the pin and put a bit of distance between himself and Andrew Jordan. Andrew, of course, is slipstreaming back onto his tail into Copse Corner, and now Andrew Jordan wants the race lead. He sets a new fastest lap. They've both gone quicker than they've been so far in the race, though. And Andrew Jordan at Copse goes back to the front. They nip up the inside of the number 5 car of Glenn Woodbridge to put a lap on him. And where do they catch these back markers? In yesterday's race, it was the lap traffic that really solidified the victory for Jeff Smith. I think he probably would have held on anyway, but the traffic allowed him to pull an even bigger gap on the rest of the field. They have a bit of a close moment there as they get past the number 6 of Graham Davis, but they just managed to squeeze their way through and head out onto the Hanger Straight. Look at all the traffic ahead, though. This is going to get very, very interesting now. This, I think, is why Aaron Smith is keen to get through. The first car to find the back markers could sometimes have an advantage. He's pushing Andrew Jordan towards Stowe Corner, and Andrew is not leaving the inside line open at all. Through the right-hander they go. The Mini 7s, by the way, coming through Club Corner. They will just about get an extra lap in, and Joe Thompson gets sideways, trying to negotiate one of the Libra class cars, and Joe Thompson is furious that they won't get out of the way because it might cost him the race lead. They will still have another lap after this one, though. So, a spin right in front of the race leaders. And just about they manage to squeeze through. This has been a particularly dramatic conclusion to this second Mini Miglia and Mini 7 race of the weekend. Has Andrew Jordan got a big enough gap now over Aaron Smith that Aaron won't be able to get back to him? I think Aaron Smith is in the perfect place. Remember, a lap ago, Smith was behind at this point and drafted past Andrew Jordan down the Wellington Straight. I think that's exactly what he's going to try and do this time as well. And there goes Joe Thompson putting a lap on Tony LeMay. He has got a bit of a gap now between himself and Mike Jordan and Spencer Wanstall, who are battling for second. But as I said, these three have one more lap to go. We need to see what's going on with the Miglias behind them then, as the top 3 7s head out onto the Wellington Straight once again. But it's all about Smith and Jordan. Jordan was leading the last time we saw them. And is it now going to be Smith or Jordan who makes the move into Brooklands? The 7's going either side of Tony LeMay, and all of a sudden, Mike Jordan is right back on the tail of Joe Thompson. And Spencer Wanstall in behind as well. Mike Jordan goes to the outside, sliding up the inside is Joe Thompson. I think Mike might have the traction off the turn here to get the slipstream. And as these three begin their final lap now, it is Joe Thompson from Mike Jordan from Spencer Wanstall. Whether that will be the order at the end of the lap, we shall have to wait and see. So through they will go. What is happening in the Miglias though? Is Aaron Smith in a position to make a move down into Brooklands, I wonder? So let's see then. Andrew Jordan has come through to claim the victory. Has he? By the looks of it, they have not been shown the checkered flag. This happened yesterday, didn't they? They've not been shown the checkered flag on the timing screen, but I think Andrew Jordan has won the race. So a lot of confusion here in this second race of the weekend. Andrew Jordan on the timing screen being shown the checkered flag now, but I'm not convinced he would actually show the flag at the line. But by 0.36 of a second, Andrew Jordan has managed to get himself the race victory. Aaron Smith second and third position, some 17.5 seconds back, was Ben Coleman. Jeff Smith in fourth, Rupert Deeth in fifth position, ahead of Nick Padmore sixth, and Nick Paddy will come home in seventh place. No, he won't. Kane Aston gets past him on the final lap. So Paddy eighth, ninth Kinsella, and the top 10 completed by number 219. That was Richard Coleman, who was the first of the Libras home as well. Tony LeMay, having been getting involved with the lead battle in the Mini 7s, has found himself beached in the gravel at... Now, where is that? I think that might be Maggots and Beckett's, and Mike Jordan is sideways now. This is for the lead. That's for the lead in the Mini 7s. Mike Jordan having a big moment through Club. Remember, these three are still racing for the Mini 7 victory because they did not go a lap down to the overall race leaders. And Mike Jordan, who was leading down at Club, had a huge slide and loses the lead to Joe Thompson. But again, that might be the place to be. It didn't work out quite that way for Aaron Smith in the Miglias, but can Mike Jordan now get past Joe Thompson, who also has absolutely no grip, making his way through Abbey? So this is not over yet. Mike Jordan, winner of yesterday's race. Joe Thompson was third. Spencer Wanstall was second. So it looks like we're going to have the same top three, but potentially in a slightly different order. Both of the top two sliding their way through Village and into the left-hander at the loop. Mike Jordan carrying a lot more speed into the turn, but does that compromise his exit a little bit? Maybe. Sun starting to come back out again now as Phil Bullock-Brown sets the fastest lap. That doesn't seem quite right at 2:36. I wonder whether maybe he's taking a shortcut somewhere to achieve that. Get to that in a moment though, because these top two in the Mini 7s coming back down towards the left-hander at Brooklands, and Mike Jordan makes his move to the outside line. This will be a last of the late breakers battle, neither of them wanting to give in, but Jordan has the grippier side of the road. Joe Thompson has the shorter run through the corner. If he can get across the nose of Mike Jordan, he might defend the lead, and that's exactly what he does. Mike goes to the outside line through Luffield though. He will have the better momentum, the better traction out of Luffield through the flat-out right-hander at Woodcote corner. He's got the slipstream as well, but I don't think he's quite close enough. It looks as though Joe Thompson is just about going to hang on. He's going to be very close indeed though. Get that photo finish camera ready. Mike Jordan makes the move to the inside line, neck and neck at the line, and by 56 thousandths of a second it is Joe Thompson who hangs on to the victory, and Mike Jordan immediately gives him the thumbs up of congratulations. Spencer Wanstall had a grandstand view of that in third position, and it will be a victory for Joe Thompson, and that was a proper Mini 7 race as well. The three of them trading places corner after corner almost, and it turns out that being in the lead on the halfway around the final lap was the right place to be, which is not always the case here at Silverstone. So excellent stuff then. Once again, we are denied a double Jordan victory. Yesterday, Mike was victorious in the 7s, but Andrew had to settle for third in the Miglias. This time around, it's Andrew who gets the big trophy for winning in the Miglia class, whilst Mike has to settle for second place in the 7s. The Libras, as I mentioned, was won by Richard Coleman. The S's, we didn't see a lot of in that race, but the S-class was heading comfortably, as it was yesterday, by Matthew Ayres in the 758 car. So Tony LeMay, of course, didn't get home to the flag. Phil Bullock-Brown also wasn't running at the end, so that was a timing glitch, I think, when it popped up saying that he'd scored the fastest lap of the race. So 0.4 of a second, the winning margin in the Miglia category. The sevens were even closer, and looking forward to hopefully seeing a bit more of the Mini 7 and Miglia Championships over the course of 2023. They've got a busy schedule, including a guest appearance, I believe, on the British Touring Car Package. They'll be at Donington Park on the 15th of April, Snetterton in May, Thruxton in June, Zandvoort over in Holland in July, before Brands Hatch, Croft, and then they're back at Silverstone again in October, and then a winter series which will take place at the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit in late October. So a busy year for the Mini 7s and Mini Miglias. If you've enjoyed what you've seen from the two races here this weekend, which I'm sure you have, then be sure to check in on the Mini 7 Championship again, follow their progress on their website and social media pages, etc. Because it really is a proper fan favourite championship, and a championship that is growing in not only popularity but in status as well, with a lot of pretty high profile drivers. Obviously, as Richard was saying earlier on, a British touring car flavour with the Jordans and Jeff Smith competing successfully in the championship as well. Really great relaxed paddock as well. It feels like old school club racing, but the show they put on is as professional as any other championship out there. So yeah, a very well recommended championship, and one that is always a highlight at any race meeting that they are competing at. So we're still waiting for confirmation of the race results, but I think the drivers are heading down into the pit lane anyway, and we've got quite a few drivers to chat to, I think. So yeah, let's head down and hear from Richard John Neal then, who is with, at the very least, our race winner Andrew Jordan.
Let's have a word with our winners. We'll get Andrew Jordan over. First of all, Andrew, many congratulations on the squat size. Well done. What a race. It looks a little bit physical out there at times.
A little bit, a bit rubbing here and there, but nothing more than that. So yeah, it was. I thought wets was the right call, and then a lot of people on slick, so you start to kind of question, is it the right way to go? But on the outlap, I knew wets was the way to go. So the toes are so big round here, you know. Aaron pull right onto me in the toe, then we'd swap, I'd pull right onto him. So my plan had been, well, I was going to tow, I'd let him past into Brooklands on the penultimate lap. Yeah. I was going to tow him down the Hanger Straight, and then there was so much traffic of the Mini 7s, I thought, so I did a bit of a lunge down into Cops, because I thought I'd rather be at the front and manage the traffic myself. So yeah, it just worked out. It's
incredibly physical racing, but cerebral, isn't it? You've got to work out when you can go.
It's really strategic. That's the kind of, when I first came into it, is the learning part of it is like that, you know, into Brooklands. I didn't defend, so I thought, you go by, and I'll wait here till the last lap for the Hanger Straight. So you got to keep thinking, which is good, and keeps you on your toes all the time.
I like it because, you know, it's equal machinery. It's down to driver ability. It's racing by definition. It's not fastest off the front. It is technically, yeah. but you actually do compete.
Yeah, it's what I really like is it's hard but respectful racing. You know, it's there's not very often any stupidity. It's just good to race for people with respect both ways. And as I say, there's a few nudges here and there, but I like that. You know, I wouldn't want to go racing where there isn't any door handling. But as long as it's sensible like that was, then I'm happy.
Fantastic, we enjoyed it. Well done, many congratulations. We see it at Thruxton actually, if not before. And Aaron Smith, second position. Let's see if we can get Aaron over. Has Aaron disappeared? There he is. Aaron, well done.
Thank you very much.
What a race. We'll get you on the square there just so we can get a good shot of you. And well, first of all, thank you and Andrew for such a great race. And it looks physical, but you've got a massive grin on your face even coming P2.
Oh, it was a brilliant race. There was nothing in it. Like we're toe to toe, and if there's a gap there, one car's going through. So it was brilliant battle throughout the race.
And it's like this all season, isn't it? I mean, we rarely see a mini race where cars aren't going wheel to wheel.
The racing just lends itself to that kind of action because they're built like a box. So when you get behind one, the hole in the air that is creating is amazing. So you can just draft past, and then you make a mistake and they're back through again. It's like there's nothing in it.
You had the fastest lap, I think, from mid-race onwards, and then Andrew pipped you at the end.
Yes, yeah. It's not surprising. It was we caught a load of back markers, and it was just not playing into my hands. Peter Hill spun at the chicane just when I was lining up for a move, and it's like couldn't be happier.
Great race, well done, many congratulations. Thanks for the chat. And we need to get our third place man just over here, Ben Coleman, third position. Get you on the spot there, Ben. My first podium interview with you, so nice, a pleasure to do that, and a good race. Different times to the other guys, was it?
Yeah, it was. I think we made the right call after Friday's testing. It took so long to dry up the track it did, so we looked at the live stream and it was still pretty greasy out there, it looked, so we thought actually it's not going to dry up that quickly, and thankfully made the right call.
Anything more out of the car for the next round? I mean, you guys always work hard, we know, down at Westport.
Yes, I mean, it's just a little bit of setup changes, I think, but I think we haven't really done too much wet racing in this car, so I think overall it's been a good weekend though, good solid points, so I think we'll take that going after the first round.
And Dad won the Libras, but he shot past, so he doesn't get his interview.
No, unfortunately not. No. But I'm really proud of him. He's working hard, and obviously he's bless him. He's really not very feeling the best. So no. So to be fair to him, for doing so well so far this weekend and keeping up as he did last year, so I'm really pleased.
That's good. Well, wish him well. Wish you well too, Ben. Pleasure to do my first podium interview. Well done. We got cars going out on track. Hopefully we can grab a few of our Se7en drivers as well. Joe Thompson, our winner. Joe. Can we get Joe over? He's being interviewed at the moment by John Ward. So it's Mike Jordan around. Let's get Mike in very quickly again. Mike always at the front. That again, a seesaw race, Mike, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a fantastic race. Yeah, it's a bit difficult when you get on the back of the Miglias that were on slicks, because obviously they haven't got any corner pace compared to what we'd got. And we caught one, and I messed up and dropped back to third. And then managed to, he was holding the other two guys. I managed to get back to the lead, and then I messed up. I just locked up into Vale on the last lap. I thought it was gone round. It was like I backed it in there, and Joe just got straight past me. So a bit frustrating, but it was a great race.
Another podium as well, fantastic. Look forward to seeing you at Thruxton. Mike, always a pleasure. Thank you very much indeed. So let's get Joe. Let's get you over here. And we spoke to Joe's third yesterday. And makes it well in the box, that's right, top man, and cracking win, great race from the Sevens.
Yeah, as I said, I wanted it to be wet and it was greasy, which is better for me. We had to put the spare engine in last night, so we found a problem with the main one, so we knew we'd probably be a bit down, but in these conditions it was perfect for it anyway, really drivable, and yeah, fantastic.
Many congratulations, Joe. We've got the cars on track for the next race. It's Spencer, we're going to grab a quick word. I'm going against orders here, but Spen, you're here. You taking the trouble to come and see us. Well done. Cracking race. Very quickly.
Worn out. Probably sum it up in a word. That was hard work in the wet. Just looking for the grip constantly. It's not always a case of out-and-out pace when the conditions are like that.
You recovered well from that big off.
Yeah, I mean, sort of life flashed before my eyes a bit there. I was like, oh, here we go again. But yeah, just foot down to the floor, point the wheels in the right direction and hope it pulls through. And it did. And we worked our way back up, but just didn't quite have that edge to get the win. But I think it could have been any of us, to be honest.